Good afternoon, Irish fans, and welcome back to the next episode of the Dirishfan podcast. My name is Danny. I am not an Irish fan. I am the Irish fan. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. On this first episode of the 2026 football season, I am so excited. I cannot wait to get into this season, to get into all the things I want to talk about. But before I get into everything, I need you to do me a favor. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the notification bell so that every single time I post an episode, you know that we're going to talk some Notre Dame football and what's going on this season. And this is truly going to be a historic year, you guys. I want to put to bed last season. The doldrums of last season. I don't have much to say about last season, to say for one thing. Today's episode is going to be focused on this. Every episode from here on out is going to be focused on this season. Why? Because last season already happened. It's done. It's over with. There's nothing we can do about it except whine and complain, which is, one of the things I like doing on this show. But I don't want to do that. I want to talk about the hope that we have for this year, what we're going into. We got spring camp. We have fall camp. Just a week and a half away. We are on the precipice of glory, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a fantastic season. I can't wait. Today we're going to talk first. I got my list of Cants. We're going to go back over last year's Cants, and you're going to think some of these are really interesting. We all have our lists, and my list, the The Irish Fan Podcast. What we do here is things that the Irish cannot do. What we cannot let happen. That's my list. We're going to get through that. We're going to talk some new rules and overall expectations. That's going to be very brief. I'm going to tell you why. We'll get to all that. First, let me put a little tiny bow on last season. Since this is a 30,000 foot view podcast, and I only do podcasts through the regular season, I knew I was going to try and do some throughout spring. I just didn't get around to it. I got a family, full-time job, and I just do this for fun. So that's one of the reasons why I didn't get to it, even though there was a ton of stuff breaking within college football, within the realm of the Notre Dame football program, recruiting, all that stuff. I just didn't get around to talking about any of it because in the end, it all comes down to this year. It all comes down to this season. It all comes down to the here and now. Recruiting, yeah, it's exciting, but I've said it before, I don't talk very much about recruiting because I talk about actual Notre Dame football players. Once we get around to National Signing Day and we got that ink drying on that National Letter of Intent and the NIL deals for all these recruits, then I'll be satisfied. Then we can talk Notre Dame ball as it pertains to freshmen that are about to enroll, because that's what I talk about. I don't talk about guys that are not Notre Dame football players yet because they can change their mind at any point in time because they're 16, 17-year-old, 18-year-old kids, and that's what they do. So, but again, a tiny little bow from last season. And this is the only thing I want to talk about as it pertains to last season. And the reason why is because I think it's relevant to this season. And that is how one of the things that was perceived about the Notre Dame football program last year. And that was the fact that Notre Dame did not accept a bowl invitation. Once they were held out of the college football playoff, they were looked at as soft going into the bowl season because we did not accept a bowl invitation because of the college football snub. And that's exactly what it was. Nevertheless, we were looked at as soft because of that. Now, why do I want to talk about that? Here's why. Every single big-time program going forward, I don't care who it is, Texas, Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia, I don't care who it is, I guarantee you will start this trend. If they are somehow held out of the college football playoff and they're in the realm within 13, 14, or 15, schools will start rejecting these meaningless games because it's exactly what they are. Why? Because the schools just don't want to play them? No, because it will be impossible to field a roster capable of competing on the field for one of these, again, meaningless games. And if Notre Dame had accepted a bowl bid, they would have had a roster of maybe 40 or 50 guys, similar to that Florida State team that accepted a bowl invitation I think it was after the 2022 season or 2021 season, and got absolutely annihilated by Georgia and exposed. That was embarrassing, and every school going forward is gonna hold to this narrative. They're gonna hold to what it to this truth that you cannot field a full roster because you're gonna have so many opt-outs. You're gonna have so many guys leaving for the NFL. You're gonna have so many guys transferring. You're gonna have so many guys hurt. That's every college football team. And Notre Dame, for some reason, was looked at as soft. I mean, I know the reason. It's because it's Notre Dame, and people love writing their columns and making their shows so that Notre Dame football fans will watch, and they will get the eyeballs. That's why they do that kind of stuff. But I wanted to talk about this specifically just because it is going to be a thing going forward. You will start seeing schools not playing in these meaningless bowl games because that's exactly what they are. The greatest gift, the greatest benefit that they give you is you get 15 extra practices to develop your squad for next year. I don't think that is as valuable as people think it is, specifically because of what I just said. If you accept the bowl game, you now have to play. Those 15 practices versus the possibility of being exposed and losing by 5 touchdowns, that can be very hurtful to the program. Nobody sees the practices. No one cares about that. What they see is the product on the field. And once they see those games, that's going to now be your narrative going into the next season. And you're going to start seeing schools opt out of these things. So that's what I wanted to mention. That's really what I wanted to mention from last season. Other than that, we're moving on. We are looking forward to the 2026 season. I am so excited for this school year. I can't remember the last time I was this excited for a football team. I'm going to get into the roster. I'm going to as camp starts in a week and a half. It's August 6th. I think it's next Thursday. I'm recording this today, July 26th, I believe. Monday, July 26th. And it's about the afternoon of July 26th. And so we got 8 days until camp starts. And I have been through plenty of seasons where Notre Dame had rosters capable of winning a national championship. Certainly rosters capable of competing for a national championship. And just, recent memory, 2012, 2018, 2020. And then rosters that were able, 2024, 2020, 2025, that were able to compete for national championships. This is what I'll say about this year. Every year is unique. Every single year is a snowflake. What sets this year apart is there is no other roster that is so much better than Notre Dame's. And what I mean by that, 2018 Clemson roster, where you had a Heisman Trophy winning or Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback. You had no 2020 roster at Alabama, where you had 2 guys that could have won the Heisman Trophy that year, Devontae Smith and their quarterback. 2012, you can just go on and on. There is no other team. There is no other team with a roster that is so much more leaps and bounds better than Notre Dame. There's plenty of teams that can beat Notre Dame. We've got schools on our current schedule this year that can beat Notre Dame. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying a roster that is so leaps and bounds ahead of Notre Dame, we have to play a perfect game and expect that other team to play a horrible game in order for us to win. This year, our roster, if we can manage to stay somewhat healthy and play our game, play up to our potential, there's not a single team that we cannot beat. Not one. Not a single one. And that is what sets this year apart. That's what sets this roster apart. And that's what makes me so excited to start this year, to see something that I've never seen and never participated in my lifetime, which is Notre Dame winning a national championship. Again, I'm going to get into the specific roster breakdowns. I've already made my lists of who I think will be the day one starters, which is probably not going to be the day one starters coming in October, November, or when the playoffs start. I'll get to game by game breakdowns. I'll get to game by game predictions, and what I think the overall record is going to be when we make the college football playoff this year. And the overall mantra, the expectations, the leave no doubt on the field that we have to have in order to win a national championship. Not compete for one, win one. I believe we can do that this year. And that's what this podcast is going to be solely geared towards. I'm not going to get into all the other stuff. We're going to talk Notre Dame football this season. So, as it pertains to Notre Dame, let's get into this. Let's talk about some. Let's first talk about some new rule changes and how it affects Notre Dame. First, there's been every season there's different college football rule changes that, small ones, big ones, medium ones. I'm not really concerned about talking about all of them. I'm not going to talk about all of them. I'm just going to talk about the ones that are the most important to Notre Dame football. For five for five. This is the first one I want to talk about. What 5 for 5 means you have 5 years of college football. Every single player will play 5 seasons. Period. You get 5 years of whether you get an injury, you don't have to worry about red shirts. If you sign a national letter of intent and an NIL deal with any school within college football, you're going to get 5 years, at least. I still think the jury's going to be out for people that are going to apply for 6 years, and maybe that happens, maybe it doesn't. But what this 5 for 5 rule is supposed to be, that it's going to take away all these guys that are in college for 6, 7, 8. There was a guy who played for Florida, I think, last year, who was on his 9th college football season. And that's just that kind of stuff has got to stop. And I think this 5 for 5 deal is going to do it. It's really good for Notre Dame, because now guys can play their freshman year, or any year for that matter, and not have to worry about only which 4 games are you going to play them. Are you going to play in the first 4 games of the year and then sit them the rest of the year? You're going to play in the last 4 games of the year, that kind of thing. This will take away, hopefully, some of the kids who want to preserve eligibility, and then they'll shut down their playing time for that season. Guys like Jaden Mickey in 2024, who played the first 4 games of the year, realized he was not going to get into the starting lineup, wanted to transfer. So what he did was he shut down the season and his season to preserve that year of eligibility so he could transfer and go to another school. It was highly criticized at the time. I'm highly critical of it. I want every kid to play to their maximum capability, and if you're on a roster, you need to be and you're not hurt, you need to be available to play for that team, whether you're third string or first string. But those weren't the rules, and Jaden Mickey set those rules or used those rules for his advantage, and it is what it is. But it hurt Notre Dame because it took a guy away out of the depth chart that we needed eventually coming down the line. And every school needs depth. The number one thing that schools need, other than talent, of course, is depth. And that took depth away from our program. So in a similar type situation, that guy, Jaden Mickey, he wouldn't have to sit out. He would actually be able to play and preserve that year of eligibility. So I think that's going to be really good for Notre Dame, and hopefully things like that will be few and far between going forward. The college football playoff format has changed, and here it goes. Automatic bids. The Power 4 conference champions get automatic bids. How this was not a rule from the beginning is just, I don't know, it's NCAA for you. It's just so stupid, but they're putting Worth back into the conference champions, and I think last year they kind of got exposed because Duke won the ACC, and if under this year's format, they would have gone to the college football playoff. But because everything got so exposed with how the final 12 were picked, and we had 2 group of 5 teams in, you had a team like Notre Dame being held out. It was ridiculous. You had Miami crying their way in, even though they beat Notre Dame. I get it, but they were crying their way in. You had the ACC commissioner went on a campaign against Notre Dame at the end of the season there, making sure that Miami would be in over Notre Dame. And he wouldn't have had to have done that if the stupid ACC would have just had an automatic bid to begin with. Granted, I don't think he would have wanted it to be Duke, but nevertheless, they would have been guaranteed a spot. So this year, they are guaranteed a spot. No matter who wins the ACC, they will be in the college football playoff, and hopefully that will take away from the press campaigns that that guy went on at the end of the season. So, Power 4 conference champions automatically in. Top 4 teams, no matter who they are, whether and this is solely based on how the committee ranks them. Whoever those top 4 teams are, 1 through 4, they may not be a conference champion. Just because you're a conference champion and you get that automatic bid does not mean now you should be in the top 4. That was another thing that has switched. If you were a conference champion, then you had to be in that, I guess, that top 4. I don't know. It was stupid. Top 4 teams, no matter who they are, whether they are the conference champion or not, they will be 1 through 4 and get that first round bye. So what that means is Notre Dame before had to qualify and be a conference champion in order to get a top seed. Well, now they don't have to. They can be number 1 in the nation and not have to be 5th, for example, which they would have last year or the year before. If they're number 1 in the nation, they will get one of those bids. They will be number 1 in the nation, period. I have a little caveat to that, a little asterisk, a little proviso to that at the end of this with the college football playoff. But if they are number 1, they're number 1. And the college football playoff committee can rank them however they want. 1 through 4 get automatic bids, no matter conference title. If Notre Dame finishes in the top 12, no matter where they're at, they will automatically get a college football playoff bid, no matter what. Which means, again, last year we were ranked 12th, but because of this group of 5 rule, where the highest ranked of it was one of the group of 5 teams was already in the top 10, and then because there was another group of 5 team that was a conference champion, they jumped Notre Dame as well. So Notre Dame was by de facto kicked out of the top 12, even though they were ranked 12th. So that that combined with the fact that the ACC champion will automatically get a bid should ensure Notre Dame's guaranteed level being in a college football playoff. Here's the asterisk. Here's what this all comes down to. Okay, these new rule changes, they are beneficiary to Notre Dame, but here's the thing: the college football playoff committee, they showed you who they were last year, and they showed everyone what the college football playoff actually is, which is an invitational and not a true playoff. I want to say that again because I always have to. The college football playoff structure is an invitational. It is not a true playoff. And because of that, Notre Dame was held out of the playoff last year. If Notre Dame was truly one of the top 12 teams in the nation, they deserved a chance to play for a title, period. But because the rules are not set up that way, because the CFP is an invitational, they were held out. So my whole contention is, well, what's to stop the committee if they're pissed off that Notre Dame is not in a conference and they lose a game? I don't care who it's to. They're 11-1. Well, screw them. They didn't have a tough schedule this year. We're just going to put them at 13th. Problem solved. They don't go, and all the whiny Notre Dame fans can go with them, and we'll play football. What's to stop them from doing that? There's a lot of Notre Dame football fans who will say, Danny, that's kind of conspiratorial. You know, they need the eyeballs. They need Notre Dame in the playoff. They wouldn't do that. If there's anyone that has any kind of those reservations, or if you're thinking that, they did it. They did it. They had us ahead of Miami all year. From the moment a CFP ranking, the CFP ranking started in November all the way to the end, up until the end. They had us ahead of Miami. But because so many people cried over the head-to-head, and by the way, that head-to-head standard better stick with all these other teams, because I guarantee you, the Big Ten, between the Big Ten and the ACC and the SEC, there's going to be head-to-head matchups that come into play. And you better hold the same standard for those teams as you did for Notre Dame. We lost our head-to-head matchup against Miami. I get that. But in years past, that was never a problem. Nobody would have had any problem putting Michigan in 2018 over Notre Dame until Michigan got annihilated by Ohio State in the final game. Nobody had any problem when they put Florida State as the national champion in 1993 and us, even though we lost to Boston College, even though we had the head-to-head matchup. Nobody had any problem with that because we had the worst loss. And a lot of people sitting here are listening going, yeah, Notre Dame had the worst loss, therefore Florida State was number one. Okay, by that same standard, last year Notre Dame should have been in ahead of Miami. By the same standard. Same exact schedule, played some of these exact same teams. They lost to two weaker opponents. Notre Dame had the quote-unquote better losses. That's the same standard that you held for Notre Dame in 1993. But that didn't matter last year, did it? So, head-to-head now, it's ironclad. It is iron tight. We play Miami this year. So if we beat Miami this year and Miami wins the ACC, I don't want to hear any whining. I don't want to hear any whining. I don't want to hear any complaining. The standard holds for all time, as far as I'm concerned. And that's fine. So, my doubts, my concerns are still there with the CFP. They're going to have to show me that they actually want Notre Dame to be a part of this system, whether they're in a conference or not. I don't believe it. I'll believe when I see it. So, luckily Notre Dame is still in somewhat control of this. Okay, and we're going to get into that. But luckily Notre Dame is in control. Specifically because of their schedule, how it lines up, and I'll talk about that as well. But let's get into the list of Cants first. Went over some of the new rules. Before I get into the list of Cants, I want to go over last year's Cants. The list of Cants. What Notre Dame cannot let happen. What we cannot do. What can't happen. Okay? And last year was, I don't know what to say. I hit the nail on the head. Last year was it was spot on. My number one was no yeah buts. We cannot have any yeah buts. No yeah buts. And what did I mean by that? Well, Notre Dame, they went 11-1. Yeah, but they lost to Northern Illinois in 2024. Well, Notre Dame, they're 10-2. They had the worst, they had the best quote unquote losses. Yeah, but the head-to-head matchup. We had our yeah buts immediately. We went 0-2. We had no idea that was it. We had no idea that was the final say. There was no chance of us making the playoff. From then on out, it was air apparent. No matter what Miami would have done, say lose one more game. I mean, Miami didn't compete for the ACC title game. They didn't even play in it. They didn't win it. They lost two games to weaker opponents. None of that mattered. In the CFP's mind, it was done. Notre Dame was not going to play for a playoff. We had no idea, but we had a couple yeah buts. Yeah, but the Irish, they're not in a conference. All this blah blah blah, whiny, complainy, and we had a couple yeah buts, and it hurt us. It hurt us right off the bat. Number two was we can't lose at home. Again, boom, right off the bat, home opener. Lost to Texas A&M. Awesome. And we gave him 41 points doing it. Number three, we cannot get the quarterback situation wrong. We didn't get that wrong. We certainly did not get that wrong. However, he took a little bit too much time in camp to make that decision, and I think that hurt us the first two games, which by dint hurt the entire season. It's amazing how some of these decisions that are made early on affect the rest of the year. And that's the game we play, folks. That's college football. It's one of the reasons why we love it, is because of how we hang on every single word. We hang on every single pass. We hang on every single catch. We hang on every single run, because every single one matters. All the way up into preseason camp. Marcus Freeman thought it was a good idea to extend that battle a little bit longer and keep some of the team in doubt, and keep some of us fans in doubt, keep some of the press in doubt. He thought that was a good idea, and it wasn't. It hurt us. It hurt us in the long run. We lost our first 3 games. I'm not saying we specifically lost those games because of CJ Carr. I mean, you can make a strong argument that we were even in those games because of him. So that's not necessarily what I'm saying, but there's things called chemistry and cohesion, things that you need to develop, especially with a quarterback that is brand new and starting. It is critical that they get every single pass that they can in camp to be able to gel with their offensive line and gel with their wide receivers and with their running backs. And I think that camp situation hurt us in those first 2 games. And it contributed, let's just say that. It contributed to the losses. Number 4 was we cannot have mass injuries. This is one of those things that's just uncontrollable. I don't have this as my list of cants this year. What can we do? You know, it's a game of football. It's violent, and that's just how it is. We did have, every team has mass injuries, but we didn't have enough to make it super affected at the end of the year. We were right there with every team in the college football playoff in terms of injuries. You know, every school had as much as we did or worse. I don't think that would have affected us in the playoff, but still, it's one of those things. Hopefully, luck holds out. We don't have a bunch of injuries. Number 5 was we cannot have slow starts. I keep pointing to those first 2 games and the slow starts of the first half of that season, man. The first 3 games, we went 1-2, and we averaged 32 points a game on defense. We couldn't. That was on my list of cants last year, and that certainly can't happen this year. Can't give up 32 points a game in the first couple of games. I don't think we will. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying we can't have slow starts, and we had a slow start. We had a couple slow starts, and it cost us a playoff. Number 6 was we cannot have any missed opportunities. We were chock full of them, just chock full of them, and it cost us again. We had the ball we beat Miami, and we were in the playoff, and we might win a national championship. And again, you go back to that first game of the year. It's just how important these things are, man. We had the ball. We had the ball left, or we had the ball to drive down and score a touchdown to win the game. At the end of the game there, we had an opportunity and we missed it. What if CJ Carr had some more chemistry? What if he had a little bit more time to develop in camp? We had 2 or 3 more days. We'll never know. But number 6 was we can't have missed opportunities. We were chock full of those. Cost us the season. And my last one was number 7. We cannot get our personnel wrong. Again, I'm going to point again to our 2 losses and going 0-2. You heard me say last year that we had guards playing tackle and tackle playing guards. Who was our starting left tackle last year? And again, this is not a criticism on the players. I love our offensive line. I do. I truly do. These kids are huge, athletic, and talented, and they are going to be great this year. I'm going to get into that in podcasts to come. But we had guards playing tackle and tackle playing guards. And my confirmation of that, baby, is Anthony Knapp, our starting left tackle this year, will be our starting left guard this year. Will Black, who was playing guard last year in a backup role, will be our starting left tackle this year. I said this at the beginning of the season. Go to whoever you want, man. Go to whoever you want. I know this team. I'm not an insider, but I know my team. We had guards playing tackle and tackles playing guard. We got our personnel wrong. It cost us 2 games, the playoff, and a possible national championship. So that was my list of cants last year. This is my list of cants this year. What can we not let happen? Well, here we go. Number 1. This is in no particular order. I rank these as I put these down here as I think of them, and I'm going to start with a pretty obvious one. We cannot have slow starts again. Cannot. If we can score 100 points against Wisconsin, we're going to do it. If we can score 100 points in every single game, we're going to do it. I think for the first time since perhaps perhaps the Lou Holtz era, that we're going to have a football coach that understands this. Marcus Freeman, his mantra this year is leave no doubt. I love it. I love it because that means leave no doubt for the committee. That's what that really means. The committee is going to have no choice but to put us in the CFP because of how dominant we're going to be. And that dominance means scoring points. I don't know a better gauge, a better way to measure that, to see it. So we can't get any slow starts again. This can't happen. It's a non sequitur. It's something that's obvious. Some teams can overcome it. Marcus Freeman has yet to prove that. He has yet to prove that he can overcome a slow start. Oh, Danny, 2024, we played for a national championship. Yeah, but I think in the long run, there's a couple things that started at the beginning of the year and that cost us, and that was specifically development of Riley Leonard. But I digress. That's in the past. Can't have any slow starts. Number 2, we cannot lose in September. I can't even stress how important this is. Let me tell you our September opponents: Wisconsin, Rice, Michigan State, and Purdue. We play. This is our Big Ten schedule. Have you the teams that we're playing in the Big Ten? Not the best Big Ten teams by any stretch. 2 of those schools will probably have sub 500 records by the end of the year. Most likely all 3 of them. Wisconsin's the only one that could possibly have a plus 500 schedule. The jury's still out there. I think you're looking at a dead man walking in Luke Fickell. I don't see him. I didn't see him. I'm so glad we didn't choose him as a head coach when he had a hot streak in Cincinnati. I just don't see it from him. I think he's a really good coordinator who is a head coach. So that's one of the reasons why I think we're going to smoke Wisconsin first game of the year. One of the reasons. But we can't lose in September. It can't happen. Again, I'll give you that stat again. Our first 3 games last year, we gave them 32 points a game for the first 3 games. 32 points a game on defense. We have to get our defense right. Our defensive personnel. We just cannot lose in September. Number 3. This is kind of this goes into number 2, but we can't lose our home opener. We don't have Marcus. I can't believe I'm saying this. Marcus Freeman does not have a home opener win against an FBS school. This is his 5th season, folks. This will be his 5th time playing in a home opener. So 4 previous games, not one game is there a W against an FBS school. His only home opener win, I was actually at that game, Tennessee State. I find it amazing as I go through lists and you think about this team and how excited you are, and I am not trying to play Debbie Downer. I truly am not. I'm just a realistic fan, and I have this thing called a memory, and I always look back to previous Notre Dame football teams and how excited I was before the 2006 season, how excited I was before the 2015 season, how excited I was before the 2018 season. And there's always this smack across the face of reality and where our teams actually were at those times and where it is now. And the reality is that Marcus Freeman has only one win in a home opener against an FCS school in Tennessee State. That's the reality. He's abysmal in September, in the month of September. That's the reality. He has 2 losses to MAC schools in September. That's the reality. It's just I love Marcus Freeman. There is no one that wants him to succeed more than me. But that's unbelievable. And we can't lose in September. We cannot have any home losses. Number 4. We cannot lose to BYU. Why am I singling them out? Because we replaced them with USC. If there's perhaps any school on the roster, if there's any school on the schedule this year that you could probably forgive a loss to, it might be BYU. One of those reasons because it's at BYU. The other one is they're a better team than USC. Quite frankly, at least they've been the better program in the last 5 years than USC. I don't know if you stack them, star talent to star talent at BYU to have a roster like that. But sometimes good coaching, and finding the right players supersedes star talent. And I think BYU is one of those schools where their coaching supersedes the star talent that they would play against. And could it supersede Notre Dame's? It could. I don't think it will, but it could. And that's perhaps the one game on the schedule that if Notre Dame goes 11-1 and that one loss is to BYU, where they still able to get in the playoff. But why they made this list is because we specifically replaced them with USC. That's why. It would be a huge self-own almost if we replace them with USC and we end up losing to them. And again, I'm not saying that we're the ones that did this. This is if you want to get into the nitty-gritty on why we're not playing USC this season and beyond, listen to some of the Irish Breakdown podcasts on some of the insider knowledge that they have. They got some really, really good stuff as to the exact reason why we're not playing USC anymore. And it's a travesty to college football. It truly is. It's one of those unfortunate directions that the game at large is headed, that you could spend a whole nother podcast talking. I'm not going to get into that right here, but just having the team that we replace that school that we would beat every single year, and it's your biggest rival. It's easily your biggest rival, and having that school beat you would really, 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 really hurt. But the good news to that is I think that's the one scenario. That's the one and only 11-1 scenario in which Notre Dame still gets into the playoff, because they also possibly are a playoff team. Number 5, we cannot lose to Miami. We cannot. If we lose to Miami, I'll be the first one to say I don't want to go to the playoff, because that ultimately means we won't even win a playoff game. I'll be so demoralized. I think the school, the team, we can't lose to Miami back-to-back years. One at Miami, one at Notre Dame. That can't happen. I just don't. It cannot happen. We cannot lose to Miami. There's a possibility I'll be at that game. There is that place. Notre Dame Stadium better be rocking off of the foundation. I want to see every single Notre Dame fan dressed in green. I want to see every Notre Dame fan frothing at the mouth to beat this stupid, arrogant, fair weather school that only cares about academics when it's kids that are not playing football, that only cares about their team, the U, baby. It's all about the U when they're winning. And if they're losing, you cannot, even when they're winning, they can't sell out that stupid Joe Robbie Stadium, that dump. Even when they're winning, they can't sell that thing out. They can't do it. The only time they sell out is if they're playing Florida or Notre Dame. That's it. That is it. Those are the only 2 games a year that Miami is capable of selling out their home stadium. I can't stand that school. I despise them with the heat of 1,000 suns. We cannot lose that game. Number 6, we cannot lose the narrative. What's the narrative? Notre Dame has a weak schedule, and they don't deserve to be in the playoff because of that, and they're not in conference. We cannot lose that narrative. We cannot give anyone that ammunition. We just can't. If we beat BYU soundly, and we beat Miami soundly, especially if Miami wins the ACC, all of that will be gone. I say this. It won't be gone because there's always haters, especially in the media. There's always the Pat McAfees out there that are going to pick you to lose every single game, even if it's against Navy and Army. But those kinds of people, those trolls, they will have no ground to stand on. None. Zero. Nobody talks about previous eras and their schedules and how bad they are. Nobody cares about any of that. Nobody cares. It only matters when it's Notre Dame. Okay, fine. If that's going to be the case, well, this is in our court. This comes down to our mantra. This comes down to what Marcus Freeman and the standard that he sets for this team is going to be the whole season. Leave no doubt. For the committee, for the media, and for any of the trolls. It's in our hands. If we win by enough points and show our dominance, the schedule's not going to matter. It just isn't. And it'll prepare us for when we actually start playing some really, really good teams in the playoff. We're going to be undefeated in the playoff. I'm getting ahead of myself, but we will. We will. Because this list of cannots, it's not going to happen. We're not going to do any of them. Your boy's predicting that right now. So, yeah, number 6, cannot lose the narrative. And we cannot give that to all of our haters. Number 7, we cannot fail to make the college football playoff for the 2nd year in a row. It's kind of one of those like, well, duh. Well, duh, Danny. If we lose to Miami, and certainly if we lose to BYU, both of those teams, if we have another 10-2 season, I mean, yeah, duh, we're not going to make the playoff, and we won't deserve to. As a matter of fact, if we go 10-2, I believe that you're going to see a couple 9-3 or 8-4 teams jump Notre Dame because of how tough their schedules will be. Ohio State's schedule this year is rough. It is actually tough. Alabama, Georgia, the SEC, the top teams at least, some of them have pretty tough schedules, and I guarantee you, a 3 or 4 loss team will jump Notre Dame if Notre Dame goes 10-2 at the end of the year. I guarantee it. So, we cannot fail to make the play. One of the reasons why I say this is because it'll be for the 2nd year in a row. And Marcus Freeman, I'm not saying Marcus Freeman would get fired. I don't think he would. I just think he would leave. I think he would. I've done all I can do. I don't think this school is worth another season. I think he would leave. I think he would cash in on the stock that he has built in the last 5 seasons, and I think he would go to either the NFL or to another program. There's a lot of people saying this is Ryan Day's last year, and for those of you who have been following this program, my biggest criticism of Marcus Freeman, I don't even know if I can call it a criticism. It's just one of my observations about Marcus Freeman is that he is a Ohio State guy. He's not a Notre Dame guy. He's an Ohio State guy. And I don't know of a single coach out there who played for a big time program who wouldn't want to coach their alma mater. That's again, I get constantly slapped with reality as a Notre Dame football fan, And the reality is he went to Ohio State and won a national championship there as a starting linebacker. I just don't see him not wanting to coach there at some point in time in his career. You win, and again, I've said this before too, you win a national title at Notre Dame, God be with you. You win a national championship at Notre Dame, go wherever you want, I don't care, I'll take that trade. Go ahead, go to Ohio State if you win a national title here, I'll take that. But it can't happen for a second year in a row. Again, not because I think we would fire him, but just because I think he would leave. Last one. Number 8. Cannot leave any room for doubt. Leave no doubt, folks. Leave no doubt. If we're up, I just rewatched the Syracuse game, and this is the time of year when you start rewatching some of the old games, especially the beatdowns, and you start itching. You're like, okay, I need some college football. You start getting the gases churning, and the desire to watch some football starts, and you get a whole month to just kind of eat that. But it started, and I just watched the Syracuse game, and we were up. We were winning 35-0 in the first quarter, and it would have been 42-0 had we scored on that drive. We scored that 40. It was 42-0 with like 14 minutes left in the second quarter. There was a scenario there. We could have hung 77 on the board, maybe even 80. I mean, it was that bad. Here's what I think. I think if Freeman can do that this year, I think he will. I'm not saying he's going to keep his starters in for the whole game. As a matter of fact, he shouldn't. But the backups, they're going to play football. You're not going to see zone read for two and a half quarters under that scenario. You're going to see Blake, whoever our backup quarterback is, Teddy Gerard, Blake Hibbert, or Noah Grubbs, whoever that is, you're going to maybe all of them. You're going to see those guys throwing the ball down the field. You're going to see running backs trying to take it to the house. You're going to see guys trying to do some pick sixes on defense. You're going to see blitzes and packages that you would normally see for starters. You're not going to see prevent defense. I think we're going to leave no doubt this year. And there's a couple of these schools that should be scared. There's a couple of these schools that I think we will. And this is one of the reasons why you keep hearing a lot of people talk about, are we going to set a scoring record this year? I'm gonna say yes, not necessarily because this will be the best Notre Dame offense of all time. There's a world where they're not the best Notre Dame offense of all time, but they'll still set a scoring record, and here's the reason why. I think Marcus Freeman is going to hang 70 a couple of times this year. I think he's going to hang 60 a couple of times this year, just because he can. And I think he will. Because of leave no doubt. And you'd be hard-pressed not to want that to happen. I mean, of course, as a fan, you want that to happen. You want your team to just beat the crap out of everybody they play. But because of how tight these races are at the end of the year, and the measuring and the weighing of the schedule and how good it is and all that stuff, we need to see wins this large. Well, their schedule sucked. Well, they did what they were supposed to do against inferior opponents. They were supposed to beat Rice by 50 touchdowns. They were supposed to beat Michigan State and Purdue by a lot. I think we're going to do it. I think we're going to set a scoring record because of the leave no doubt factor. So, we can't leave any room for doubt. Overall expectations, I'm going to leave it at this. This is my final thought. I was looking at overall expectations. We all talk about 30,000 foot view stuff. We get in the nitty gritty, and people will make a list of like, oh, this will be a victory if we do this, and a victory if we do that. Not me. I have one. I don't care if CJ Carr wins the Heisman Trophy or not. I don't care. I don't care if Anise Williams wins the Doak Walker Award, and we have back-to-back Doak Walker Award winners at Notre Dame for the first time in school history. I don't care about any of that. I got one. Just one. Win it all. Win it all. That's all I got. Thank you so much for tuning in. that will be it for this episode. Again, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the notification bell so that every single time I post an episode, you guys can talk Notre Dame football with me. I love it. Please don't hesitate to reach out. If you want to email me your thoughts, I'd love that too. robertsdanny82@outlook.com. Here we go, folks. I'm going to get into rosters. I'm going to get into player breakdowns as camp rolls on. I'm going to post another episode after the first couple days of camp, just to get some thoughts, and so it might be a week and a half or 2 weeks before I post again. But I just want to get those first couple of nuggets, so I have a little bit something more to talk about as we get into the rosters. That's it, baby. Win it all, leave no doubt. Go Irish. Love you.